Hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. So excited for you being here today. Thank you for joining the class. Very important subject matter here. This class is called Rewriting the Root. Rewrite the Root, a masculine healing curriculum for men, rewriting the root. Now, if you identify as a man, then this class is for you. This course is about healing domestic violence and getting to the root cause of why it's happening in the first place. We know that most domestic violence is happening to women. We're not saying that domestic violence does not happen to men, as it does happen to men, and we will talk about that in this course. This course is several weeks long. Our objective here is to help men heal. And so I am super excited to speak exclusively to you. This is a non judgment zone. This is a place where I intend to be very transparent with you and share with you my personal experiences that I've had as a person who has survived domestic violence and also a person who has had situations happen in my life that I can count on two fingers that where my anger got the better of me and where I actually, you know, I was the one that hit someone. And I'm going to share with you those stories as well. One time when I hit someone, and another time where I felt that, my anger was out of control. And I just, was in a situation where I needed to change. I'm going to share these stories with you. I think they're very important. So, again, this is a judgment free zone. I want you to know that. And again, if you identify as a man, then you are in the right place. Whether you've actually, been in a situation where you were the perpetrator, or whether were in a situation where you were the victim. This course is for you. And again, thank you for being here. This course is several weeks long, and I just want to introduce myself to you. First of all, my name is B, Dr. B. I have been teaching for a very long time, a very long time. I love I love being the person that can potentially help other people. That's just something I love doing. I feel like this world is falling apart in so many ways, especially as it pertains to domestic violence. You have men who have issues with putting their hands on women, and you have women who have their issues putting their hands on men. And I feel like if we are to continue to go down this path as human beings, we're going to self destruct. We're going to self destruct. You have men who are creating these toxic environments online where they are belittling women, where they are trashing women, where they are, devaluing women. And I'm not saying that women are not doing that too, but what I'm saying is we are headed for self-destruction. We're headed for self destruction when we can't be real with ourselves, when we can't heal ourselves, when we can't get to the root of why we're even experiencing these things in the first place. So, in this course, we're going to talk a lot about anger. We're going to talk about dealing with your emotions. We're going to talk about a lot of things that normally are not discussed because for some reason, men don't tend to have safe places. They don't tend to have these discussions. Oftentimes, when a woman is a victim of domestic violence, for example, it's the woman that is told she needs to do this, she needs to do that, she needs to leave him, she needs to all of these things. And I have a class for women. Having said that, nothing will change until men also change. We're only solving 50% of the problem by telling a woman what she needs to do. but we're not getting to the root of the issue, which is the one that's actually causing the domestic violence. And oftentimes, unfortunately, it is coming from a man, it is coming from a partner. So, this is why it's important for me to speak directly to men so that men can heal. With no healing for men, there is no healing for no one. This is how important you are. So, my class style is very laid back. Okay, I have my coffee here. I am in the studio. If you hear any background noise, it is really because the studio is not soundproof. So, bear with me. Just tune out the noise if you hear any noise. I also have my water here. So please make sure that you have your coffee, your tea, your water. We are going to be in session for 1 hour approximately. And I just want you to be in a place where you can relax. There'll be times where we may laugh, there'll be times where we may cry. And I want you to know that it is okay. It is okay to be yourself in this class. All are welcome here. This is a class that is meant to embrace you, that is meant to hold you, that is meant to teach you, that is meant to show you, correct you if need be, yet always happening from a place of love. And again, I'm going to be very transparent as I have even started off that way. All right. And you can expect that from me. Okay. So, again, this is called Rewrite the Root. We need to rewrite the root. First of all, we need to know the root cause in the first place, and then we need to rewrite it. This is high time for men to evolve. Men need to evolve, just like women need to evolve. Men need to evolve. Women or men are not counted from the evolution process. We need our men to evolve, most definitely. We need humanity as a whole. This is why both groups, however you identify, you need to evolve. So the first thing we're going to do is ground ourselves. Okay. Now, before we get into that, just a little bit about my background: prior law enforcement, done a lot of things in the community, helped out the community in so many ways, had to heal my own anger, had to heal my own hurt, had to heal my own pain. Very important that you know this. Okay. You are not alone. You're not alone. This is very important that you understand that as you go on this journey, as we go on this journey together. And at any point in time, no matter where you are, you can change. You can change the course of your life. You can heal the root, period, and point blank. Okay? Sometimes it takes simple awareness. Awareness. All right. So let me go ahead and let's ground ourselves. And when I say ground ourselves, I'm literally talking about taking a moment to just breathe. Again, you may hear some background noise. I apologize for that. I cannot control everything around me. But please just pay attention to what's happening here and now. So if you're in a place, hopefully you're in a place where you can relax. Okay, maybe you have a notebook next to you and a pen as well. I like to take notes. All right. So let's go ahead and take a nice deep breath in and blow it out. Okay. A nice deep breath in and blow it out. Okay. Again, one more time. A nice deep breath in and blow it out. Okay. I want you to repeat after me. I am love. I am love. And one more time, we're going to repeat that together. I am love. You see, many times we hear that men are all of these things, masculinity is all of these things. But before we add any of these things to you, you need to understand that you are love. You are pure love. You're pure love. And because you are pure love, you are capable of love. No matter where you are in your life journey, you need to understand at the very foundation of who you are as a man, as a human, is pure love. Okay, so first of all, what we're going to be doing within our classes, we're going to heal, reframe, and redefine. We're going to be talking manhood, about manhood, and we're going to be addressing the root. Okay. Now, first thing, I'm looking at my notes if you see me looking away. First thing I want you to think about is what word comes to mind when you hear masculinity? And you might want to write down what word comes to mind when you hear the word masculinity. Go ahead and take time and write that down as I sip my coffee. Now, when you look at the words that you wrote down that you associated with masculinity, tell me, where do you think these ideas come from? Have these ideas come from family? Have these ideas come from the church? Have these ideas come from media, culture, your peers? Okay. And as you do that, I'm going to look at my notes really quick. In 1 second here. Okay. Just think about that. Again, what words come to mind when you think about masculinity? All right. And also forgive my internet connection. It is a little bit slow in this location. Don't know why it is what it is. Okay. So let me just pull this up. Some common words that you might find or that may come up for you when it comes to masculinity are the words strong. Okay. First of all, I need to say this. There is nothing wrong with being a strong man. There's nothing wrong with that. What we must have, though, as human beings, is balance. Is balance. Okay. So, where this message of strength may come from in a negative way, men are taught often that they have to be tough, that they have to be unbreakable. Okay. Unbreakable. Unbreakable. Mm, mm, mm. But the reality of the situation is everyone breaks down, including men. So if you automatically have this mindset that you need to be unbreakable, you don't allow yourself the ability to be broken. And sometimes in your life journey, you may feel broken. And that is okay because that is part of being a human being. That doesn't mean that you cannot rise up and become resilient. You see what I'm saying? It is okay sometimes to not feel like you are strong in the first place. Because sometimes what I find is if you are really feeling weak, but you're pretending to feel strong, sometimes you may overcompensate. You may take that strength to the next level. That strength may become a destructive force because what you're attempting to do is hide a weakness in the first place. It's very important that as a man that you understand, number one, there's nothing wrong with being strong. Number two, there's nothing wrong with breaking, with feeling like you are broken, because that is something that happens to all human beings. That doesn't mean that you're going to continue to be in that place. It is okay to be broken for a moment in time. Please realize that this too shall pass. You need to give yourself permission to be broken as well. Because sometimes it's in that brokenness, it's in that tenderness that we grow as human beings. Okay. So, what does strength really mean? Strength means allowing yourself to be human in the first place. It takes great strength to be broken. Hear me when I say it takes great strength to be broken. It is okay to have moments where you feel broken. All right. Another word that may have come up for you, provider. First of all, you have the world on your back. You have the world on your back. And sometimes this is how men feel. You feel like your worth is tied to how much you earn or how much you can give materially. So if you're not making a lot of money and if you're not able to give materially, then you don't feel like you are a high value man. Well, guess what? There's no such thing as a high value man or a high value woman or a low value man or a low value woman. All of that is rubbish. Because you exist, you are worthy of love. You are pure love. Pure love. So, again, it is not attached to how much money you bring to the table. I don't care what the media tries to tell you, what picture that the media tries to paint for you. Your worth is not attached to how much money you can bring to the table. You are already worthy because you are here and you are breathing and you exist. You exist. You exist. Again, your worth is not attached to what you earn or what you're able to give materially. And anyone that you are in a relationship with that is judging you exclusively on whether or not you can give materially and saying, I can't love you because you can't give me give me materially, that is not love. That is not love. There's nothing wrong with sharing your wealth if you have the wealth to share. But again, love is a gift and it's not withheld because you didn't buy a person a piece of jewelry. It's simply a gift. A person that loves you is going to love you for you being you, for you being you. That is enough. That is enough. Again, love is a gift. Love is not an expectation. Another word that may came up, and of course, again, just like it's nothing wrong being strong, there's nothing wrong with being a provider if that's what you choose to be. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what you choose to be. But again, realize that these are roles. These are roles that you can decide to play, but that doesn't mean that that is who you are. Ultimately, you are pure love. There's nothing wrong with being strong, but there must be balance. There's nothing wrong with being a provider, yet there must be balance. There must be balance in these things. Okay? Do you hear what I'm saying? Protectors. This is another word that comes up, okay? uh, when you think about what is masculinity. Now, men are defenders. This is where this is the underlying belief and cultural message. Men are defenders. Um, but what about protecting emotionally and spiritually? We're always taught that men are protectors. Okay, and again, that is a role. But what about protecting emotionally and spiritually? It's not just about being a physical protector if that's what you choose to be. What about you protecting emotionally and spiritually? Okay, very interesting. Again, these are roles that may come up when you think about masculinity. Leaders, okay, again, there's nothing right or wrong about any of these roles in the first place. But again, you must have balance in any role that you decide to play and realize that you're more than the role that you play. Again, you are pure love, you are being. Leadership. Okay, men are often taught, that they are leaders, and sometimes this leadership can come across as dominance, to dominate, to dominate, which is not always connected to service or presence. In the first place, there's a difference between service and presence and domination. And oftentimes, men are taught as leaders that you need to dominate. And you see how this can become a problem within a relationship if you're seeking to dominate it. Okay? All right, we're talking about the roots. We're talking about the roots of abuse. And sometimes one of the roots of abuse can be dominating, seeking to control. Control is a form of abuse. I'll say again, control is a form of abuse. Again, there's nothing wrong with being a leader. But remember, all things must have balance. Another word that may come to mind when you think about masculinity is power. Okay. Power. Many men equate power with control, not purpose. With control, not purpose. Think about that. Let that sit in your spirit while I sip my coffee. I say again, many men equate power with control and not purpose. Mm. Okay, being stoic, silent. Not, you got something going on with you, but the world will never know because as a man, you keep it all inside. You don't you don't show your emotions. You've been trained since childhood. Boys are trained to suppress their emotions. What are you told? Men don't cry. Boys don't cry. Man up. This is problematic. This is problematic. Why? Because it doesn't give you the opportunity to express yourself in a healthy way. Tears are not a form of weakness. Tears are a form of strength in the first place. The fact that you are vulnerable enough to show your emotions, to show your tears, it takes great courage to do this. It takes great courage to do this. If you can't express yourself in healthy ways, what will happen is sometimes you will express yourself in unhealthy ways. And potentially, be abusive. Now, I'm not saying that you're automatically be abusive. I said potentially be abusive. You need to have the ability as a man to be able to express yourself in healthy ways. And being able to cry is a healthy way of expressing yourself, of releasing your emotions in the first place. Holding your emotions in could make you a ticking time bomb. A ticking time bomb. Okay. Another word that may come to mind, aggressive. Okay. Society links masculinity with competition and conquest. That's what it does. It's always about competition. It's always about conquest. Yeah, that's one of the words that may come up for you when you think about masculinity. Respect. Men are taught to command respect, okay, to command it, but not always how to give it. You're taught to command it, but you're not always taught how to give it. You see how that can be problematic as well. Again, there's nothing wrong with wanting respect, but it is balance that we're talking about here. And you need to be balanced, not so much in just wanting respect, but being respectful in the first place, putting out what you wish to receive. I talked earlier about some of these social media platforms that are spaces for men, and some of them are quite toxic. Blaming, talking down about women, all of these things, and they're very disrespectful in the first place. Again, this place of being disrespectful but expecting respect. It doesn't make sense. There's an old saying that you give out what you wish to get back. So if respect is the desired outcome, then you must be respectful in the first place. Okay. Another word that might come to mind is discipline. Again, this is neither good or bad. Okay. Discipline, rooted in order and control. Okay. Discipline. Sometimes it's healthy and then sometimes it's not. Again, you can go overboard with any of these words that you may have written down that define masculinity. Again, balance is the key. Responsibility. Okay. This is often heavily expected early on. Okay. A man has a lot of responsibility early on. You are trained early on. Again, there's nothing wrong with being responsible. But when you get to a place where your back is breaking, you're taking on too much. You're taking on too much and you're out of balance. Okay. Fear, another word that may come to mind. Okay. Beneath the surface, many men live afraid of failure and rejection. I'll say again, beneath the surface, many men live afraid of failure or rejection. Why? Because you're taught that you need to handle everything oftentimes with no support. You just be a man. Just be a man. Just be a man. Just be a man. You get inundated with that from early on. And again, there's nothing wrong with being responsible, for example, but when you are out of balance, when you can't even ask for help, when you can't say, help me, I'm drowning, that's problematic. It's problematic. Okay, love. Love is another word that may come to mind. Okay, now this might be a less common answer, okay, but it might be on your paper. It might be on your paper. All right. So, again, where do you think these words came from? Again, who do you think taught you these words as it relates to masculinity? Was it hip hop? Was it the military? Was it religion? Was it school? Was it your parents? Now, when you think about these words, what was helpful? What do you think was helpful to you? And what do you think was harmful to you as a man? And think about this too. Do you still carry the meanings of these words today, or has it evolved? Okay. Now, what words would you like to replace with some of the words maybe on your paper now? Something to think about. Something to think about. Okay, let me go back to my notes. Just a little exercise that I wanted you to do. All right. Okay. All right. So what I want you to learn, or what the next thing I want to talk about is true masculinity. Okay. Number one, true masculinity is not control. See, because when you seek to control others, it really means that you have no control of yourself. Okay? That's number one. True masculinity is not control, it's integrity. Okay. And integrity is something that you do when nobody else is looking. All right. So let's go back to my notes here. It says in my notes, trace the social image of men as providers, protectors, and power holders, and contrast. What I want you to do is contrast dominion versus domination. Let's think about that. Contrast dominion versus domination. Dominion is responsibility, stewardship, and presence. Responsibility, stewardship, and presence. Domination, on the other hand, is control, fear, and ego. I'm going to say again, dominion is responsibility, stewardship, and presence versus domination, which is control, fear, and ego. I want you to think about this for a moment. Do you feel like you have more dominion in your psyche, or do you feel like you have more domination in your psyche? Because what I'm saying is sometimes domination, especially when it comes to healthy relationships, sometimes trying to dominate that relationship is what can lead to abuse. Because again, control is a form of abuse. Seeking to dominate someone is not healthy. Now, okay, maybe you're playing a basketball game and you seek to dominate the game. Yeah, there's a time and there's a place. But when it comes to the construct of establishing healthy relationships with your partner, seeking to dominate them, to control them, is not a form of love. Now, I realize that I'm speaking in general, but please understand what I'm talking about today. Ultimately, I'm saying that control is a form of abuse. If you are controlling, for example, you're checking this person's phone all the time, you're criticizing the way that they dress, you're criticizing the fact that they wear, makeup, or you're criticizing their hair, or you're criticizing their social media. All of these things, all of these things are forms of control. You're seeking to control someone else. When you met the person, they had makeup on. When you met them, they had a social media. When you met them, they were dressed the way that they were. Now, all of a sudden, because you're with them, they can't dress a certain way. They can't use their social media like they were using it before. Again, you are reaching all the way in somebody else's life space, attempting to control them. Control is not love. It really comes from a lack of your own self-esteem, a lack of your own confidence in the first place. And what you need to do in that sense is work on developing yourself, work on developing your self love. Get yourself to a place where you're not trying to manipulate somebody else outside of you. Get yourself to a place where you become your own project. Your project is always you, not somebody outside of you. Work on your own self instead of trying to transform and change somebody else. Because what are you doing? If you're with somebody that, you know, has certain things or characteristics that you don't like, why are you with them? Instead of trying to change them, how about you get with somebody that you actually resonate with? There's no need to attempt to change someone, to attempt to control someone. Let that person be who they are. If you don't like who they are, then why are you with them in the first place? Why would you try to transform someone from being someone other than themselves? That's crazy. There, people are not science projects. All right. So also I want to talk about, you might say, let me just pause there. You might say, well, it's unladylike for a woman to be XYZ. Well, again, that goes into different stereotypes and different constructs that we have and images that we have of women, which has been passed down to us from generations. And this sometimes comes from religion. We'll talk about that later, religion. This sometimes comes from the stereotypes that we have about women in the first place. You need to declutter your mind. You need to declutter your mind and heal. Again, if you're with a woman that is, you know, doing things that you don't like, it's not your role. It's not your place to attempt to change that woman. It's not your role. It's not your place to attempt to control that woman, to criticize that woman. Who are you? Are you Holy Ghost Jr.? I think not. Either you're going to love that woman the way she is, or you're going to leave her alone. It's very simple. What you're not going to do is emotionally abuse her, is spiritually abuse her, is criticize her. You'd be better off leaving that person alone. If you feel the need to try to control them, just leave them alone. Leave them alone and take that as a clue to work on your own self-esteem and your own self-improvement. All right, so I want you to think about this. Uh, the idea of emotional leadership. Okay, we're going to talk about that. Go ahead and write down on your papers, if you have your papers, emotional leadership. Okay, we're going to go deeper into that. Again, I'm looking at my notes. All right, and my computer is slow. All right, so emotional leadership is the hinge that connects the old idea of masculinity, command and control, to a new one. It's not about command and control. The new one is self mastery and care. Do you see how that vibration changes from command and control to self mastery, to master yourself? See, again, it's not, you're not here to master other people. Baby, you're here to master yourself. You're here to work out your own self in the first place. Mastery, self mastery, and care. Remember care? All right. So, emotional leadership is the ability to lead yourself and others from a place of awareness, empathy. Remember empathy? People have been down talking the word empathy. No, that's not the way. Again, emotional leadership is the ability to lead yourself and others from a place of awareness, empathy, and stability instead of fear, pride, and aggression. Now, aggression again may be fine if you're on basketball court, for example, if you play basketball. But when it comes to your relationships with an intimate relationship, there's no need for you to be aggressive with your partner to begin with. Because why? Why? Why would you be aggressive with someone that you claim to love? Where is the care there? There is no care, to answer the question. Again, emotional leadership is the ability to lead yourself and others from a place of awareness, empathy, stability, and stability instead of fear, pride, and aggression. It's when a man chooses presence over power plays. It's not about power plays. It's not about pulling trump cards on people. It's about presence. Your presence. Let your presence be the present in the first place. Think of it this way: physical strength can move objects, okay? Financial strength can move systems. Emotional strength can move people. What level is your emotional strength today? Leadership starts from within. You want to lead anybody, you have to lead yourself. You become the first person. The first person. You lead by example. And if anybody wants to follow you, that's their choosing, but you don't force anyone to follow you because you say, I am a leader, you need to follow me. No, you just be a leader and lead yourself. You set an example. That's a leader. A leader is one who sets an example for themselves in the first place. They're not trying to control and force anyone to follow them. Okay? Anyway, before a man can guide anyone, says in my notes, before you can guide anyone, guide. Okay? And again, it's up to them if they choose to follow you. Before you can guide your partner or guide your children or guide your team or guide your community, you must first know your own emotions in the first place and how to regulate them. How to regulate your emotions, how to regulate your fear, how to regulate your anger, how to regulate these things. Very important that you know how to control your own emotions to begin with and how to deal with them. When you need to cry, cry. If you're feeling angry, there may be something you do. For example, maybe you go bowling. Okay. Maybe you go bowling when you feel angry. Maybe when no one's home and you feel angry, maybe you yell into a pillow. Maybe you bite the pillow or whatever, but you never let somebody else see you in your place of anger. You allow your anger to be released in a healthy way, in a safe way, in a way that gives you the ability to let it go without hurting others. I go back to a time when I was not in control of my emotions, okay? And that was an incident I had where I put my hands on somebody because I wasn't in control of my emotions. No one could make you do anything. And then I remember the second time where I felt like my emotions were, I was feeling the anger in my system and I was feeling it rise up in me. And it was at that moment that I literally stopped myself. I sat down with myself and I said, who am I? And why am I so angry? And I got to the root of why I was angry and I had to heal the root. Some of you men are angry and you have yet to get to the root of why you're angry. And sometimes this anger may stem way back in childhood, something you experienced with your mother. This is another thing. Your relationship that you have with your mother, the relationship that you have with your mother may be a key indicator for you, may be a pain point for you. This needs to be healed Because how are you going to have a healthy relationship with a partner if you have an unhealthy relationship with your mother? Now, I'm not saying that you need to be, you know, best friends with your mother. Your mother may not even be living on this side of time. But what I am saying when I say have a healthy relationship, I'm saying release any pain, any hurt, any suffering, anything that you've endured with your relationship with your mother, to release that. Whether that means you need to write a letter and burn it, to get it all out, to talk about everything that happened to you and let it go and heal. True healing is something that you have to be an active participant in. That doesn't necessarily mean, like I said, that you need to be chummy chummy with your mother. You can, great. But sometimes you might have a toxic mother. That might be a reality for you, and that's okay too. But you still need to allow yourself to let the honey of forgiveness heal your soul, heal your mind, heal your heart. And the same may be true with your father. Maybe you had a negative relationship with your father. Maybe he didn't teach you how to love a woman. Maybe he wasn't even there. You need to heal that. Heal the anger. Behind the anger is the hurt. Behind the anger is the hurt. And this is what needs to be healed, because when if you ever put your hands on someone in an unloving way, it don't have nothing to do with that person. It has everything to do with something within you that you did not heal, something within you that you need to heal right now, not tomorrow, right now. Because if you don't nip it in the bud right now, then you're headed for self-destruction. You need to be real with yourself. Again, these classes are opportunities for you to be transparent and for you to be real with yourselves and for you to get down to the root so that you can experience healing. And in order to experience healing, you need to heal the root. You need to heal the root. Just like I had to sit down with myself and say, why am I so angry? It had nothing to do with this person. It had nothing to do with this person. And it was at that moment when I said, I don't even know who I am. I don't even know who I am. This anger that I have, it is not mine. It is not mine. And I changed in an instant because I was so disgusted. I was so disgusted in the person that I saw how I could have been. I'm telling you. I'm telling you, and this is why it is not too late for you to have a reality check. You need to have a reality check. May this class be like a reality check for you. I realized then and there, because of my anger, even though it was, and I'm not going to trivialize the situation. I'm just saying it was enough for me to be afraid of myself because I didn't know who I was in that moment. And that revelation in itself, realizing where my anger was rooted from, was enough for me to say, absolutely not. I will not allow myself to become this wicked, wicked individual. Because when you put your hands on somebody, it is wicked. It is wicked. It's one thing, self-defense, it's a whole nother thing when you can't control your anger. All right, now, where was I? Yeah, so knowing your emotions and how to regulate them. Okay. I have to say, you know, I have never put my hands on anybody else after that incident. That was enough for me. That was enough for me to have a wake up call. And boy, did I have a wake up call. And you might try to justify why you did what you did, and this, that, and the third. And there may be people that agree with you and say, oh, yeah, this person, yeah, yeah. No, man or woman, it is never okay. It is never okay to put your hands on somebody. It is never okay. It is never okay. Unless you're out there defending yourself, okay, in the streets, don't put your hand on somebody. You call yourself loving someone. Love is not violence. It's not violence. Love is not pain. I don't care how social media tries to make things poetic. It's not. Here to tell you today. All right, regulating your emotions. That inner regulation, the inner regulation of your emotions, that's true leadership. That's true leadership, is being able to regulate yourself, regulate your emotion, not go off the radar. Okay. Compassion is important, and compassion does not weaken your authority. It does not weaken your authority. Real strength is the courage to listen, to apologize, to protect without control. You can protect without control, and to love without fear of being seen as soft. That's another thing. Just because you love a woman, this is another thing that's going on in these social media streets and some of these chats, these male forums, and not all of them, but some of them. Just because a man loves a woman, they're seen as soft. No, no. Just because you love your partner, that doesn't mean that you're soft. You can love without fear of being seen as soft. Soft. And there's nothing wrong with being soft. It's okay for men to also be soft. It's okay. Compassion is clarity. It's clarity. It lets you respond instead of reacting, responding instead of reacting. A reaction is like a knee jerk. A response is something that you've thought about, you've taken your time, you have clarity, you're relaxed, and now you can respond in a healthy way versus having a knee jerk reaction. Somebody cursed you out. That doesn't mean that you need to curse them out. That doesn't mean that you need to return fire with fire. If you are in an unhealthy relationship and you are the one that is experiencing someone cursing you out, someone talking down to you, there's no reason for you to be there. There's no reason for you to be there. You don't dim your light for the sake of someone else. You don't let someone take you to the next level. You don't return fire for fire, because if you do that, the whole place will explode. Leave. Allow yourself a safe exit from this individual. Again, I told, another class earlier today, whoever you're with, after being with them, you ought to feel better, not worse. If you're with someone and you feel worse than you did before you got with them, why are you there? Why are you there? Save yourself. Save yourself. Okay. Presence over dominance. Emotional leaders don't rule by intimidation. There's no reason. They're calm. Their calm. Your calm becomes the room's calm. If you're calm, the room may be calm around you. You might be able to set the atmosphere by your own calmness. Okay. Vulnerability is vision, showing emotion, grief, joy, tenderness, models humanity. It teaches others that healing is allowed. When you do this, you give permission for the world to breathe. Permission for the world to breathe. When we see you, show your emotions, show your grief, show your joy, show your tenderness. Your tenderness. You give permission. silent permission for the world to breathe. Something to think about. So here's something to think about here. Another activity you can do. Think of a man that you admire. Think of a man in your life that you admire. Might be an uncle, friend, your dad, your cousin, anybody. What made his strength memorable to you? Was his loudness or his steadiness? Okay, think about that. Might even be a coach, mentor, you know. Now I want you to remember this, the peace that you felt around this person, that wasn't weakness. That wasn't weakness. That was emotional leadership. Strength through compassion is power under control. I'm going to say that again. Strength through compassion. You have all the strength in the world, but if it's not balanced with compassion, if you have no love, baby, you have nothing. Strength through compassion is power under control. You have yourself under control. I want you to remember this, and you might want to write this down. My emotions are not my enemy. It's just energy. My emotions are not my enemy. They are my instruments, simply instruments. I lead with peace, patience, and presence. All right. Okay, so let me go back to my notes here. I hope you all are learning something. I am super excited that we're here. We only have a few minutes left in this class. So I want to make sure that I get through everything. Okay. So again, all right, here's something else I want you to think about. Here's another activity. Think about what's one moment when you felt pressure to be a man and how did it reshape you? What if, here's a reflection after you do that, what if masculinity meant being whole, a whole being, instead of being hard, like this wood table right here? What if masculinity meant being whole instead of hard? Think about that. How would your life energy change? How would your relation change if you became a whole being and not just a hard one, like this wood table right here? Okay, let's talk about, again, just going deeper into masculinity. All right. So we've inherited different roles, different roles, different things that you might consider to be masculine. But we're talking about healing and rewriting some of these roles that may need to be rewritten and healed. Toxic masculinity, these are behaviors rooted in control, repression, or harm. For example, real men don't cry. Performative masculinity, this is acting out what society expects for validation or survival. Divine masculinity, this is grounded, compassionate, secure, protective, without violence. Okay? So here's another exercise to do in 3 columns. First of all, I want you to write down what behaviors have I seen that were toxic. This is a reflection. What behaviors have I seen that were toxic? Number 2, second column, what mask have I worn to fit in? Okay. And then number 3, what does divine masculinity look like to me? All right, this is something that you can do in your own time, but these are ideas, just activities, to help you again get to the root and just again heal and rewrite what needs to be rewritten. All right. Okay, I just have a few more things to get through. We have a few more minutes left. I want to talk briefly about how boys are conditioned early. Okay, how they're conditioned, how you're conditioned early. Boyhood is the soil where manhood grows. A lot of the issues that you might have as an adult, they may go back to your childhood, as I mentioned earlier. Issues that you had with your mom, issues that you had with your dad. Again, exploring early messages that you might have heard growing up. Man up, don't cry, provide at all costs. These roles or messages perhaps shaped who you are today, and you might not realize it. Oftentimes, men may have the absence of healthy role models, healthy male role models to begin with. Your father missing, your uncle missing, everybody's missing. It's important for men to have healthy role models, healthy men that can show you what a compassionate and whole man looks like. Not a hard man, but a whole man. Okay. Think back to when you were 7 years old, 12 years old, and 17. What were you told about emotions? What were you told about emotions during that time? What were you told about love during that time? What were you told about failure? Okay. This is the time for you to nurture that little boy that's within, because that little boy is still there, and that little boy within you is you, and that little boy needs love. If you weren't parented in the best way, that's okay. You can be your parent right now. You can parent that little boy that is within you right now. You have permission to speak to the little boy within you at this moment in time. You have permission to give the little boy within you permission to be free, expressive, and whole. The little boy that's within you now can be whole today. All right. Okay. So, in conclusion, I want to tell you that masculinity is not a mold, it's a mirror. It's not a mold, it's a mirror. It reflects your healing. And here's some soul work you can do. Okay. What did I learn about manhood that no longer serves me? An affirmation that you might want to use is I lead with peace, not with performance. You don't have to perform for anybody. Get off the stage already. Get off the stage already. You don't have to perform for anyone. No. What you are here to do as a human being is be the light, to be love, and you have full permission to be that. All right, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up this session here. I hope that you got something from this. I know there was a lot of information given. At the end of the day, I am here to be a resource. Now, speaking of resources, let me give you some resources right now before we close. Okay, second here. Mhm. Okay, again, bear with me. Ah, okay, so here's some resources for you. For men, again, this classroom is for those who identify as men. So here's some resources for men who have been abusive or fear that they may become abusive. There is a hotline. Okay, this is for the United States. It's 1-800-799-SAFE, 1-800-799-7233. The website is thehotline.org. Okay. There's another website and it's called menstoppingviolence.org. Again, that's menstoppingviolence.org. Okay. There's another website. It's called A Call to Men, a call to men.org. Now, some of these websites and numbers, they may be old or outdated, so just make sure you do a Google search as well. Okay, there is another website. It's called it's for counseling and education to stop domestic violence. That website is called Emerge, emergedv.com. Emerge, emergedv.com. And here's one for men who have survived. Well, this one was originally for men who survived sexual abuse, but it provides peer support and resources on healing trauma and breaking cycles of violence. It's called oneinsix.org. One, it's the numbers one, NIN6.org. And then last but not least, let me give you one more resource here. One more resource. Let me scroll all the way up in my notes here. Okay, one second. Okay. This is a hotline that you would call. This is the same number, but if you are a victim of domestic violence yourself, and oftentimes men do not report these things, and yet we must acknowledge that men also are victims sometimes of domestic violence, and it is never okay. The hotline for that would be 1-800-799-SAFE or 1-800-799-7233. You can also text the word START, START, to 88788. 88788. You can also look up the website, thehotline.org. Thehotline.org. Okay, men, just like we started this session grounded, we're going to end grounded as well. So go ahead and take a nice deep breath with me and blow it out. Again, I hope that something resonated with you today. It takes great courage to show up to a class like this. Again, there is no judgment here. There are several classes within this course. Again, this course is designed to help you heal as men and to rewrite the root. I love you so much. I'm grateful for you being here, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.